Everybody, thanks for coming to our Town Hall Ask Me Anything moment this afternoon. I'm Aaron Frost, the CEO of HeroDevs, and I'm excited to take an opportunity to chat with you about some of the exciting transitions that are happening at HeroDevs. Um, before we get too far into this, I just wanted to let everyone know that we do have a chat where you can ask questions or show some support. We do ask that you show good community guidelines though, and keep comments, above the belt, so that it remains a safe space for everybody involved and all the participants. So feel free to use that though, and be a part of this AMA. Um, I'm excited to talk to you about some of the changes that are happening. We invited all of our XLTS customers to this meeting today so that we could have an opportunity to explain to you the changes and transitions that are happening with our products going forward. Let me go ahead and switch over into our presentation portion of this, and I'm going to walk through some slides, and hopefully we can talk through it. And if there's questions along the way, feel free to drop them in the chat, and I'll attempt to answer them. If not, there's a lot of time we have at the end for questions, any sort of questions that you guys might have. So we're going to run through a short show here. First, we're going to talk about a brief history of XLTS. Then we're going to talk about the reason we're rebranding over to Never-Ending Support. And lastly, we'll end up talking about the future of Never-Ending Support and where HeroDevs plans to go with our NES products. So starting with the brief history, how did XLTS exist? In 2013, I was building websites, and my coworkers and we wanted to go to an Angular conference, and there weren't any. So we had kind of a silly idea of let's start an Angular conference. And so we were going to Google the next month, and we decided while we were there, we may try and find the Angular team and ask them to come to our conference. So we did, and we asked them, and they said, hey, we'll send our whole team to your Angular conference if you do an all Angular conference. And so almost overnight, we started this the biggest Angular conference in the world. It's called NGConf. It's the most heavily attended Angular conference around. It's a very heavy enterprise focused conference, and the entire Angular team comes. We've been doing it since 2014 and every year since, even through the pandemic. So we started this really rich collaboration and partnership with the Angular team, and we got opportunities to earn their trust, and for them to see, hey, these are people we can partner with and have trust in. Shortly after that, I was nominated as one of the first community Angular Google developer experts. And this is where Google interviews people from the community and invites them to be part of their GDE program. And being a GDE means that Google, in a way, sponsors you as a speaker to travel around the world and be a better evangelist around the technologies they build, in my case, in Angular. And so I was one of the first Angular GDEs. After that, HeroDevs, we started in 2018, and we really quickly got an affinity for doing NG upgrades. AngularJS was going to end, even though we weren't sure of the date back in 2018. We knew it was going to end, and HeroDevs, we were really good at migrating from AngularJS specifically to Angular 2 and the newer versions of Angular. And we started with what the Narwhal folks and Victor Savkin put together in his book, and we took it in a slightly different direction and built our own patterns, and quickly became really effective at these NG upgrades. And we became, in our opinion, the best at NG upgrades in the world. And when AngularJS end of life, almost accidentally, we saw an opportunity of, well, let's support AngularJS after the end of life, in an effort to find opportunities to migrate enterprise customers and AngularJS users to something more modern like Angular or React or Vue. And so we floated by the Angular team the concept of, what if we provided an additional 5 years of long-term support for AngularJS for enterprise users? And that is where XLTS started. And we started selling XLTS in 2019, and it immediately became a very successful product. And we weren't able to anticipate the amount of demand there would be from you, our clients. And we're thankful that you're on board with us for the journey. And just as a kind of an update, we started with our first contract signed in January of 2021. And as of this morning, we have over 530 XLTS for AngularJS customers, which is a huge tribute to the demand of, even though it's legacy, AngularJS is a library that will always be close to my heart because of all the amazing things that I've seen people do with it, and that I've done with it as an Angular consultant as well. So that's a little bit of the history around how XLTS came into existence. And when we started it, our goal was to provide never-ending support through December of 2026, essentially to give people 5 more years. Instead of December 2021, XLTS aimed to give people 5 more years of support, 5 more years to migrate or to figure out a path forward, or to figure out how to end of life a solution, or to get the budget approved for a migration. And pretty quickly, some of our customers, a reasonable amount, wanted more time than 5 years. And we heard you loud and clear, though we had some internal debate where we couldn't get everyone on board to go longer. We brought on a new product called Vue 2 NES. And the reason we called it NES was because we wanted to provide Vue 2 support for forever. We didn't want to provide Vue 2 support for 1 year or 5 years. We wanted to be a product that people could depend on for as long as they needed to. And that's where the concept of never-ending support came in. And we felt that the term never-ending support captured the vision better than the term extended long-term support, or XLTS, simply because it shows more upfront commitment and good faith commitment to our goal of providing never-ending support for these super popular open source libraries. And as of today, in fact, the middle of September, we began transitioning our extended long-term support for AngularJS into the same type of support model as our never-ending supported libraries. So the question that all of our XLTS customers have is, what does that mean for us? What changes for us? And the good news is that you're not going to see any differences. This represents an internal change on our team, an alignment of our partnerships, where now everyone involved agrees that AngularJS deserves to be supported without an end in sight, without a threat of the runway disappearing at an arbitrary deadline. And so, other than the deadline of 5 years or 6 years or 8 years disappearing, everything else will remain the same for you, our partners and our customers. So that's the good news. And I want to talk a little bit more about our never-ending support goals and our never-ending support products, and where we intend to go as a team with never-ending support. So there's a lot of excitement, both from our customers as well as potential partners, as well as people looking to invest in open source, about what we're doing in providing a kind of a blanket of armor for these really powerful and really ubiquitous and popular open source libraries. So our goal is to grow our current catalog from where we started with just AngularJS, provide never-ending support for 10 more products by the middle of 2024. And one of the first products that we're adding is called Angular Essentials, never-ending support. And for you, our AngularJS customers, many of you called us and said, hey, I need support for AngularJS, but you also asked for support for the Angular UI router, which we didn't offer, or you asked for support for Angular Bootstrap or Angular Moment or a handful of other really popular but also deprecated and obsolete AngularJS libraries. And as of today, we now also offer an AngularJS Essentials library, and we invite you to reach out to our team and ask about getting support on those additional libraries. If it's a requirement for your org to have support, we would love to be your support partner. Um, but we also have Vue 2 never-ending support. We're bringing on Bootstrap never-ending support, Protractor never-ending support, and we're really excited about some of the products that we're bringing on that are kind of captured in that, many more. There's a lot more products that we're working on, things equally as big as an AngularJS, and in some ways bigger. And so we're currently really heavily focused on that march to having 10 major products by the middle of 2024. And then we hope that you'll stick around and watch. We have a really big announcement coming in the middle of 2024 where we can extend the benefits of never-ending support beyond those 10 products and invite you, our customers, to have a more opt-in to getting support for maybe any package out there. And so please stay tuned for this announcement coming in the middle of 2024. And with that, that's what we came here to talk about today, just the rebranding of a limited extended long-term support into a now never-ending support for AngularJS. At this point, if there's any questions, let's go ahead and drop them into the chat, and I'll be here to as transparently and candidly answer some of those questions if they exist. And I'll give the audience a few minutes to drop in some questions if there are any, and then I'll go ahead and try and to answer them here. And if there's no questions, I'll just maybe figure out a couple jokes to tell. Maybe I'll tell a joke while we wait. A grasshopper walks into a bar, and the bartender says, "Hey, I have a drink named after you." And the grasshopper goes, "You have a drink named Steve?" Anyway, sorry, yo. Dad joke. All right, yeah. So Ryan Hinkle has a question: will your pricing model change for perpetual or anything along those lines, switching to NES? No, the pricing model won't change. For the XLTS customers, your pricing will stay the same model that it's always been since you started. So no changes on the pricing model at all. And yeah, great question. Great question. I think we have another question from Gary. He says, "Hey, that's great news. What challenges do you see as a team staying ahead of changes to browsers, etc.?" There's two main items we focus on, and with AngularJS, there's actually a third one. And so let me kind of point those out. The security fixes is one thing, and then the platform fixes, which Gary's talking about here, is another one. We work with we use a stack internally that makes it a lot easier or a lot less difficult to test against the nightly versions of the browsers. And that's one of the biggest values we provide to our customers, is letting you know that tomorrow morning, everyone using Safari for mobile will still work with AngularJS. And how do we provide that to you? Well, we use a sophisticated but extremely reliable internal tool chain to run the tests every single night. And a couple times those tests have failed, and we found issues in, for example, Safari Mobile, and they were bugs that were actually in the newest versions, the Canary builds of Safari Mobile, and we were able to actually report those out and get those fixed in Safari before they affected our customers. And another time, Firefox, our tests found that Firefox broke some of the testing tooling around AngularJS. And so While that didn't actually break AngularJS, it broke the testing tools. We were able to release a blog and let everyone know that if you run tests against Firefox, your tests are probably not going to run anymore because the tooling changed. So we do have some difficulty keeping that going, but it's an extremely powerful and reliable um, thing for us to provide to our customers, making sure that there's platform compatibility with the canary builds of the browsers. The next thing is security, and we have an internal proprietary security testing system that we're constantly, regularly running, and we are reviewing all the reports that it throws at us. And it's pretty meticulous, and we spend a lot of time researching and attempting to reproduce issues that we find internally, as well as items that our customers report to us. And the third one that's pretty unique to AngularJS, and like for example, it doesn't apply to Vue 2, is AngularJS had it was one of the last major libraries to have a real big dependency potentially on jQuery. And so as jQuery changes, AngularJS is vulnerable. So if with the updates to jQuery 4 that are coming out when jQuery 4 is released soon, jQuery 4 is not compatible with AngularJS. Our XLTS customers, or the NES customers, you already have been receiving a jQuery 4 compatible version of AngularJS from our team. We shipped it out in February. We've got team members that are part of the jQuery Foundation who were able to dig in deep on beta builds of jQuery 4 and find ways to make AngularJS continue to work with jQuery 4 without breaking backwards compatibility with jQuery 3 and jQuery 2 and jQuery 1. And a lot of you are still on jQuery 1. As insecure as it is, a lot of us are there. So we're trying to maintain compatibility there. But yeah, so these are our main focuses, Gary. Great question. But this is our art, and this is what we focus on providing for everybody. All right, next question from Jesse. Do you expect that your NES product will extend to backend libraries? Yeah, so right now we're currently attempting to look at something like Apache Struts or Drupal and Spring. These are three items that we're taking a look at providing support for, as well as potentially looking at a really popular open source operating system that was end of life recently, and some database support as well. So where we started in the front end, we're slowly building and expanding our team of consultants that are open source contributors and bringing it on beyond front end frameworks. And we have a big announcement, hopefully in the next few months, around support for Drupal 7, which Drupal 7 is front end, back end, and database support all in one. And so it's more of a full stack support. And then we're looking at providing never-ending enterprise support for Spring, as well as a handful of other backend technologies. If anyone has something, Jesse, that your team is like, hey, we really need support for this so that we don't have to do a migration, I really would appreciate if you'd reach out to our team and help us see what are some of the products we could start providing support for today. When it comes to providing value, the cost of never-ending support with us, the cost of XLTS, has always represented about 2% of the cost to actually migrate the tech. And we really like that amount. If we can provide for 2% of your migration cost, we provide you an extra year of runway. That's an amazing value. That's an amazing, amazing value. And so we would love to have you, our most trusted partners, as we've been on this journey together, surfacing to us the libraries you need additional support for today too. So please reach out to us, Jesse, anyone else watching, with any other libraries that your team's currently feeling pressure on. So yeah, good questions. I'll take this opportunity to kind of point out, when we started this, we had no concept of why people couldn't migrate. I honestly had I feel comfortable saying a pretty ignorant view of why people wouldn't migrate. I was almost cynical, going, "You should just migrate." I had a programmer's view into it, which is to say slightly limited. But once I got on the call with you, with you, I realized, wow, this is a tough world to live in, and a lot of these people are building rad solutions, and for one reason or another, though, they have to stay on legacy versions. And I've heard it all. I've talked to enterprises who, their entire platform, that 1,000 developers have built hundreds of apps on, is based on AngularJS. It's impossible to migrate that. They're going to have to keep that supported for a decade. And I've been on architectural reviews where I can see, yeah, that's not going away. I can see that. We've gotten phone calls from people that are trying to be acquired by, a giant enterprise, and they can't get the acquisition deal done because one of the pieces of software is using AngularJS, which isn't supported, and the parent company can't acquire dead code. So they either have to migrate it before the acquisition can close, or call us and get support. We one time did a 24-hour deal where the customer was able to onboard XLTS in 24 hours, and their M&A deal, their merger and acquisition deal, didn't even. It went from being extremely threatened to closing as expected. And there's that, and there's 100 other reasons, whether it's a FedRAMP audit or a HIPAA compliance audit, or someone threatened that they can't process payment cards anymore on their website. There's a lot of reasons why people can't migrate and need support. So we hope that you trust us, that as you expose to us your vulnerabilities, we're learning along the way with you. So yeah, and we appreciate all of the trust that you put into us, and we'll continue to always value that. And we're growing a very big and reliable business on this premise, on this rock that is providing a never-ending solution for teams like you. So yeah, again, big thanks to all of you, our customers. I don't see any more questions in the chat. So let me just kind of go to my last slide, and it's got my email on there, Aaron at HeroDevs. Oh, wait, hold on. I'm going to go back a slide. Sorry, Sarah Oakley messaged something. Are you planning to add new features to XLTS for AngularJS? So the answer is no, and let me tell you why. Sarah, when AngularJS went into long-term support at Google, well before HeroDevs offering XLTS, well before that happened, when Google put it into long-term support mode, and this is very typical when library authors put something into long-term support mode, they announce there are no more new features, there's no more new enhancements, and we're not even going to optimize slowness. From during long-term support, we're only going to fix browser compatibility or security problems, and that is where we ended the the path with AngularJS and Google, and that's the torch that HeroDevs continues to carry. It's important, that path, because many of our enterprise customers are extremely interested in us never offering any new features. They're so concerned and focused on having no instability in AngularJS. So that's what we're committing to, is we'll continue the LTS Google provided pretty much forever. And with Vue, it's the same thing. The LTS that the Vue team provided for Vue 2, that's also what we're offering to our customers. So you can expect that our never-ending support is a never-ending version of the long-term support provided by these library authors. So yeah, good question. I welcome any other questions that people might have. And my email address is on the slide here. It's Aaron at HeroDevs.com. If you would like to reach out to me with questions, feel free. My aim here is to be transparent and also continue to be a partner for you, where you can depend on things that that your team needs. So reach out at any time, and yeah, we hope you'll stick with us for years to come, and be with us here towards the middle of 2024, where we're planning on having a lot more exciting news to share with everybody. So yeah, thanks for coming, and we'll catch you next time.